Hello everyone, and thank you for coming to check out this video. I actually just took my Cisco exam. It's my first time taking an online exam at home for Cisco, which they only just now started doing this last week. I'm happy to say that I really enjoyed the experience, and I hope that they continue to do this down the road. I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Before I tell you why I enjoyed the experience and why I hope that Cisco continues doing online exams, I want to tell you about how the process was for me. In order to launch the exam, I went to the email which I received when I registered for the exam, and I clicked in the link that they have there. After I clicked on that link, I was able to say that I wanted to take the exam and find my exam. Then I went through the system health checks. I actually went and did this a half an hour before my exam. The reason why I did it 30 minutes early is because I didn't want to run into any hiccups. Plus, I was using a different room and setup than when I first ran the system health check, which I talked about in my previous video. Some of the issues I ran into was that they didn't like the lighting, and also the microphone on my laptop wasn't good enough. The camera was good enough, but they didn't like the audio input. So I had to go and get a little Tamberg HD 1080p camera that I put on top of the laptop, and I used that as my audio input source, but I continued to use my laptop camera as the video input. After I met all the pre-exam requirements, I came to a screen where they told me that I have to wait for a proctor to engage with me, and they said that it would take about 10 minutes for the proctor to join, and it did take only about 8 minutes, and the proctor joined. They let me know that all of the pictures that I uploaded were sufficient. However, they wanted to take a look at the cup of water that I had on my desk. They actually had me hold it up and turn it around and let them get a good look at it. After that, I was able to ask the proctor 2 questions that I really wanted to have answered. The first question was whether or not I could keep my earplugs, because I'm at home taking the exam. I have my wife and kids and my dog at home. There can be little thuds or maybe a TV on upstairs that might be a little distracting. So the proctor let me know that I could keep the earplugs. They just needed to make a note about the fact that I was going to be wearing my earplugs. He also let me know that it would be important for our audio to remain available. So we tested. I kept my earplugs in, and he tried to talk to me, and I was able to hear him fine, but the background noise from my family being at home was actually suppressed from the earplugs. That all worked perfectly. The other question I had was whether or not I was allowed to have note-taking equipment while taking the exam. The proctor let me know that you are absolutely not allowed to have any note-taking equipment while you're in the exam room, and he also read off the rules to me for that specific requirement. He let me know that you can't have any papers on the desk, you can't have even a whiteboard in the background, absolutely nothing where you would be able to take notes. However, inside the exam, there's a little pop-up that pops up on the screen. It was actually in the way of my first question, so you're able to move that and get it out of the way, but on that little pop-up is the option to click and have a whiteboard. That is better than nothing, but if you're gonna try to draw something up and think through a process, it's best that you have a touch screen on your computer. Otherwise, you're going to want to have a mouse in order to be able to really draw things up. And let's be honest, drawing things up while holding a mouse just doesn't really cut it. It's much better to be able to touch the screen and draw things up with your hand. Once the proctor gave me the go-ahead, I went ahead and started my exam. And I gotta admit, here's one of the main reasons why I liked it better than the old way that we used to do these exams. I felt far more relaxed. I felt far more comfortable. I actually was noticing things in the exam that probably were there all the time, like the ability to leave a comment on a question, watching the clock, which I've done in the past. I know you can do that, but I don't watch the clock much when I'm in the exams. I was able to very calmly just take a look at the clock every once in a while and then say, okay, I've got, I'm about a third of the way through my time, but I'm halfway through the exam. I'm doing pretty good. I can continue my pace, right? For whatever reason, I've never really been able to do that in the exam rooms in the past. And I actually did take time to write comments on some of the questions, because I just felt that the questions, the ones that I left comments on, they really did deserve to have some feedback. Even with that, I still beat the clock when I finished my exam, which I haven't mentioned it yet. I passed the exam. That's one of the few times that I've ever passed an exam on the first try. Typically for Cisco exams like the CCNA that I took a long time ago, about 7 years ago. I passed that on my 5th attempt. And my CCIE Collaboration Lab, I passed that on my 5th attempt as well. So it's very atypical for me to pass an exam on the 1st attempt. However, I got to admit that taking this exam, it's very much in line with what I do every day. It's very much in line with a lot of the exams that I've studied for in the past, that I've taken courses for in the past, that I've created content for in the past. And I'm actually one of the co-authors for the official cert guide for this particular exam. It's 300-815. It's the Advanced Call Control and Mobility. And, you know, I really did take the exam mostly to be able to see if the content that we're creating was on the right track. We've already written all the chapters. My portion is completely done, except for that I have to go and do my reviews from the technical editors and the technical writers. But I'm not going. I have no reason to make any changes. Actually, in one of the sections that I wrote a chapter on, I got 100% on that. The other chapter that I wrote, it didn't align to any specific section of the exam. It kind of went across a couple different sections, but I did pretty well on that as well. Now, there's been some myths that I've heard going around about the exam that I was able to prove wrong when I took it. And maybe it might just be dependent upon which proctor you get or how your setup looks. My setup was very clean. I'll put a picture of it here. And the proctor did not make me move my computer at all. I didn't have to pan the room with my webcam. I didn't need to look at the ceiling. I didn't need to look under my desk. I didn't have to show them anything. I left my setup exactly as it is. And the proctor let me go ahead and start my exam. The proctor that I had actually was out of Belfast, and I'm in the United States on the eastern coast. So I would imagine that maybe later in the day, a proctor for the United States would probably be online if I were to take the exam closer to 5 p.m. my time. On the topic of the proctor, there wasn't once where I interacted with the proctor throughout the exam, not one time, only at the beginning. But once I started the exam, we didn't talk again. I didn't get any prompts on the screen or anything. It just was me and the exam, and that was it. Some of the difficulties I had is that when I have to reread a question again and again and again, I kind of read it under my breath a little bit. And so I would catch myself starting to read a question, and I'd realize that my mouth was moving. We're not allowed to do that, so I had to stop reading the question. Another thing that was difficult for me is that when I'm thinking and thinking and thinking, I like to kind of put my hand over my mouth like that, or kind of start looking off. You're not allowed to do any of those. I caught myself doing that and would instantly stop doing it. Now the last thing that I want to talk about, and this is a topic that I see a lot of people asking about. How do I get my certificate from Cisco? How do I download it? Where is it? Where can I locate it? Well, at the end of the exam, they tell me that I'm going to get a score report, which I think is probably just something left over in the system from previously when they used to do it in the exam room. You would leave the exam room and there would be a printed off score report for you there. Well, they don't have access to my printer, so there was no printed off score report, but I did get an email telling me, hey, your score report is ready. I clicked on a link that took me to Pearson VUE's website and I could see my score report there. But that isn't the actual certificate, that's just your score report. What I'll do is I'll show you on the computer when I get back home, what website do we go to, where do we navigate within that website to get our certificate, and then also how do we get our logos that come with our certifications as well. For any of the people out there that are concerned about how well are they safeguarding the certificates, I think they're doing a great job. I actually, before I got in the exam, intentionally changed the backdrop of my computer, my background on my desktop, to something that's not the default. It was just somebody running on the beach. When the exam starts up, you can see that your background turns black, and then the application that they have pretty much just takes control of your computer. And what I realized at the end of the exam, when all was said and done and the application was closed out, the background on my computer was the default Windows background. The one that I had set previously was completely gone. That's something that I actually noticed when I was doing the system test in my previous video, which if you haven't done that yet, I highly recommend doing it. It's just one less thing for you to do that's unfamiliar on your exam day. If you do it before your exam day, when the time comes to take your exam and you go through that system test again, you're less likely to find hiccups, you're less likely to find technical glitches, but you're also more likely to feel comfortable going through it because you've already done it once before. So at this point, I'll end my outdoor section of this video. I'll go back home and get inside and show you where you can get your certification, where you can get your logos. And this is information that pertains to certificates you got before the online testing, as well as certificates that you're going to get with the online testing. Again, I loved the experience. I thought it was great. I felt super relaxed. And I hope that Cisco keeps this up even after the virus and everything has run its course. Here's the email that I received when I registered for the exam, and this is the one letting me know that my appointment has been confirmed. Note here that it says 110 minutes. It kind of threw me off, but when I got into the exam, it was actually 90 minutes. Looking closer at this email, if we scroll down a little bit, we can see down here in the additional information section, please note that your appointment length may include time for non-scored sections such as surveys or tutorials. And they say that that can be an additional 15 to 20 minutes. So although my exam was only 90 minutes, they have it listed earlier as 110 minutes. So that's the 90 plus 20. Getting back to how I got to the exam when I was ready to go launch the exam, in this confirmation email, you can see here it says click on the login button. So once I clicked on this, I just went and followed the directions: purchased online exams, click begin exam, follow the on-screen prompts, and complete the check-in process. And then once I was completely checked in, I was contacted by the proctor approximately 8 minutes after I was done with my check-in process. Like I talked about before, you'll get a statement saying that your exam results are going to be printed off. That doesn't actually happen. In fact, you just get an email which has a PDF of your exam results. The other question that I know a lot of people are going to have is, where is my certificate? How do I get my certificate? Where is my badge? How do I know which badge I have? Well, old certificates and new certificates can be found at the website right here, which is www.certmetrics.com/cisco/default.aspx. And then while here, you can click on certifications. This will actually show you expired certifications, retired certifications as well. And then what you can do is just like for let's take a look at my CCIE. I can just get a PDF of the certificate by clicking here. Let's say open. There it is. I can print this off and I have my hard copy of my CCIE certification. Same thing with the logo. If I wanted to get that, I click on logo and here are my different available logos. Then I can just click on whichever one I want and it'll come to me in a compressed file. Within that will actually have the images that I can use on my emails or my profiles or whatever I want to use it on, really. I'll end this video here. I hope there was something of value in it for you, and I'll see you in the next video.